My reason for saying these things is because to remain silent in these times is the soil in which autocracies flourish and liberty dies.
1984. 1984.
How can I speak to the future? If it's like the present, no one will listen. If it's different, how will they understand the things happening now?
A clear theme in George Orwell's 1984 is the systematic, deliberate reversal of facts and information.
Double think.
There are many examples of this in the Orwellian conditions of 2024.
1984.
It is not a likable story, and one may hope and even believe that it is not a likely story either. But when we think of all that has happened throughout the world during our own lifetimes, it does not seem quite an impossible story.
Right-wing pundits and candidates have skillfully made this technique a practice, perhaps originating in the days of Roy Cohn, McCarthyism, and the John Birch Society, but is a mainstream propaganda strategy that has been an active practice of right-wing information hijacking since the revocation of the Fairness Doctrine, which was ironically introduced in the United States the same year that 1984 was published.
Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past.
Perhaps the most laughably Orwellian twist with this information reversal has been the right-wing-led 1776 does not equal 1984 slogan, a message whose true meaning should indicate that American patriotism stands opposed to totalitarian fascism. But when hijacked by right-wing sloganeers, the meaning is perverted to imply that anyone not aligned with U.S. conservative nationalism is somehow an unpatriotic American.
The whole climate of thought will be different.
Of course, what's laughable is that conservative nationalism stands in direct opposition to genuine U.S. constitutional patriotism and the original purposes of the American Revolution, opposing draconian tyranny. It also directly opposes George Orwell's views and the major themes of his writing.
1984.
And most of us also, to a greater or less extent, are already victims of certain types of doublethink.
Propagandists Glenn Beck, Alex Jones, Steve Bannon, and other extremist right-wing broadcasters lay claim to 1984 while they simultaneously voiced their brand of conservative nationalist doublethink, intended to do exactly as it has successfully done, to confuse good people among the American masses to support ideas opposing America's founding fathers and Constitution, and counter to their own self-interest.
Mr. Orwell has projected the totalitarian techniques.
It's important to remember that George Orwell himself took up arms against these very same ideas, totalitarian fascism and communist perversion, during the Spanish Civil War.
It's not easy to become sane. It's not easy.
These extremist right-wing propagandists want people to believe that George Orwell's classic dystopian novel, 1984, somehow champions the ideas they support, when in actuality it opposes their worldview.
War, says Mr. Orwell, is not all, nor is it quite the worst imaginable thing.
Fascism and Nazism are right-wing politics. MAGA and the modern Republican Party of the United States are right-wing politics. The U.S. conservatives of 2024 are highly skilled in blending opposing polarizing terms to fool the uninformed. It's not unusual to hear them use fascism in the same sentence as socialism. They're not the same thing. Totalitarian dictatorial control versus democratic individual and economic liberty. Hence, the sentiment when George Orwell, the author of 1984, famously quoted,
"Every line of serious work that I have written, since 1936, has been written, directly or indirectly, against totalitarianism, and for democratic socialism."
But if the thought police find out... But how do I know? How can I be certain that that is 1984?
I recommend a simple technique to start the process of deconditioning from MAGA brainwashing of 2020 1984.
Loyalty to Big Brother. Double think.
Take whatever right-wing politicians and broadcasters say and simply reverse it, and you've likely arrived at the factual truth. Fake news means genuine investigative journalism. Alternative facts means lies and propaganda. Election fraud means Benedict Donald's attempts to steal the 2020 election failed. Weaponization of the Justice Department means the law is doing its job identifying and apprehending criminals. No knowledge of Project 2025 means it's the codified MAGA policy playbook. Freedom Caucus means revoking voter rights and outlawing books and medicine. Hunter Biden and Burisma means Jared and Ivanka and the Prince of Saudi Arabia. Enemies from within means protectors of constitutional law. Bogus criminal investigations means genuine legal apprehension of corruption. January 6th hostages means hundreds of treasonous insurrectionists who invaded the U.S. Capitol following seditionist leadership properly imprisoned under due process. Greatest economy in U.S. history means achieving no greater year-over-year GDP growth than 78 consecutive months of post-Great Recession Obama-Biden economic policies while simultaneously registering historic job losses. Foreign immigrants stealing U.S. jobs means U.S. companies illegally employing undocumented foreign workers. The deep state means any of Demagogue Trump's political adversaries. Make America great again means surrender America's wealth and power to the robber barons. The list can go on and on. Hogwash, hucksterism, and hokum.
The party says, reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It is the final, most essential command.
How can you have a slogan like, freedom is slavery, when the concept of freedom has been abolished?
Democracy embraces liberty, diversity, and pluralism. Conservatism embraces authoritarianism, isolationism, and conformity. Measuring whether or not these statements and sentiments are true is as simple as looking at the laws and policies these political factions put into place.
Once again, you feel the protest in your stomach, in your skin, a feeling that you've been cheated of something that you had a right to.
When words and deeds don't match up, we have Ministry of Information-style misinformation. For this, MAGA blames the deep state, but MAGA themselves are victims to receiving only the desired message of those who profit from controlling their narrative and keeping MAGA in darkness.
The Ministry of Peace concerns itself with war. The Ministry of Truth with lies. The Ministry of Love with torture. The Ministry of Plenty with starvation. These contradictions are not accidental. They are deliberate exercises in double-think.
Orwell coined doublethink. Kellyanne Conway coined alternative facts. Both describe a form of brainwashing that manipulates people to simultaneously hold two beliefs that contradict each other.
We're destroying words.
Newspeak, double-think, the mutability of the past.
Roy Cohn is O'Brien to Benedict Donald's big brother. The mantra of this mentor was pure newspeak.
Deny reality. Don't apologize. Attack. Cry foul. Bully and blame. Be arrogant to beat the system. Always make your accomplishments seem bigger.
It was as if O'Brien was saying, I am with you. I know all about your contempt, your hatred, your disgust. But don't worry, I am on your side.
To cheat, to forge, to blackmail, to do anything which is likely to weaken the power of the people?
Yes!
The most revealing tell about Demagogue Trump's Orwellian language that has so imbued the MAGA movement is recognizing that when propagandist politicians and their ideological underlings speak in these hypocritical ways that are so at odds with reality, it clearly means they know that the truth of what they do is wholly unpopular.
Once you've succumbed to thought crime, nothing is illegal since there are no more laws.
In the end, Winston Smith's rebellion against Big Brother is ultimately crushed. His desire for freedom and independent thought is broken. His only intimate companion and her affectionate love evaporates, forever lost to him. Room 101 proves the penultimate form of oppression under the party's control, forcing Winston to utter the unthinkable, that he too loves Big Brother.
Big Brother is watching you.
Perhaps this is the inevitability of America's new fate in its Orwellian journey through 2020 1984.
1984. 1984.
Victory, like Winston Smith, over ourselves.
Oh, it's not just words. In the end, we shall make thought crime impossible, because there will be no words in which to express it.
And yet, perhaps walking this path is what is required to wake up and recharge the revolutionary spirit to reject totalitarian tyranny.
We have beaten you. We have broken you. Can you think of any single degradation that has not happened to you?
For the love of my country, I hold on to that hope.
The plight of the individual in this world, we leave you to assess for yourselves.